Alright, welcome everyone to a new commentary I'm doing with Dan.
Hello again. I'm back. I was part of the Sonic Forces commentary. Back then, that was a game that was a hotish topic at the time. I hadn't honestly played it myself. It was a second-hand thing I wanted to be a part of. This, however, I have first-hand experience with. Kirby and the Forgotten Lands for the Nintendo Switch 2022.
Oh yeah, you asked. I asked you, what games you're most familiar with. And one of them was Kirby. So I figured, hey, newest release, why not? Let's do a little commentary.
Absolutely.
So I don't like. I know your experience with Kirby, but do you want to go over it a little more?
Well, how far back?
Your whole experience. With the franchise.
When I was but a kid during the DS era, sometime I can't quite remember when, I took a trip to Turkey with some family and friends. I was on vacation. I believe this is correct. And while we were there, there were some DS games on sale in a market as we passed by like some kind of local market. One of the games there was Kirby Superstar Ultra for the DS. I'd known of Kirby through things like... Sorry. I'd known of Kirby through like Super Smash Bros. Brawl, one of my favourite games of all time. So I knew of this game called Kirby's Fun Pack, which I knew then in America, thanks to the internet, was Superstar, and I'd seen people play Superstar. I watched Let's Plays at the time, and yeah, it seemed like a popular game. So I thought, the Superstar Ultra, what's this? And that was my first experience with Kirby. That particular copy later turned out to be like a fake, essentially, a bootleg, because when I had my 3DS, it wouldn't play. I have an official copy now, I do, but that's where my first experience with Kirby came from, and I've played a bunch of the games since, especially with like this newest era with like the 3DS games. Love that stuff, and then. Here we are now with Forgotten Lands, its first proper foray into a 3D adventure, unless you count like Blowout Blast and such. But yeah.
I mean, Forgotten Lands is about as 3D as Super Mario 3D Land and 3D World. You really think about it?
Yeah, so the 3D it takes is the more sort of linear-ish 3D platform adventure in things... Maybe sort of like a Crash Bandicoot or Sonic, their 3D games, where you have these levels you get from A to B in a traditional style, as opposed to a collectathon sort of way. So you have things like a fixed camera as well.
And the game itself is really fun. Like I haven't played that many Kirby games, but the ones I have, I've loved pretty much from day one. As far as my experience goes with the franchise, very little Kirby games. My first one being Kirby's Adventure, and I got that from the WiiWare virtual console, and it was the only NES game that I finished. So.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, like the Nightmare gave me a tough time, especially in that first phase.
It goes into sort of a sort of a 2D shooterish style gameplay, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do because there wasn't like a lot of tells to how much damage I was doing. So I was throwing stars at the ball and. Well, when I saw that it went away, I was like, "What's going on?" And then it just like squished me. Screen squished me. I was like, "Oh, okay. Now I know the stakes."
It's times during that period, yeah. I think they had a health bar on the bottom for the bosses in Kirby's Adventure.
I
It's also a
swear,
nice little NSE.
I swear, I don't think that boss fight even had one. At least for that first.
Anyway,
phase.
though, here we are entering mouthful mode with Kirby swallowing an entire car. We should talk about perhaps how this game starts off a bit.
Yeah.
The story is that some portal into like another dimension has swallowed up many of the residents of Dreamland, Kirby included, and he's off on adventure to find his way home and, well, perhaps save some of his own folks along the way and such.
And I know this much. Starting with, I want to say Triple Deluxe. Every Kirby game has had some sort of big gimmick that the game is built around. This in case the mouthful mode, whereas in Triple Deluxe it was the hyper mode, I believe it's called, and in Robobot it was the Robobot.
Yeah, Triple Deluxe had a Hypernova. Technically, before that, Kirby's Return to Dreamland, or Adventure Wii as it's known over here in the UK, it had the super abilities.
Right. The mega abilities. Right, I forgot about that game.
I think saying that the games are sort of built around those new gimmicks is, I think, not sort of the best sort of description of how they typically play out. They're typically like, I think this and Robobot certainly integrate them more into regular gameplay, you know, better and more often. But in like Return to Dreamland and Triple Deluxe, their gimmicks were sort of more like sections, specific sections you'd enter. And there are some bits like that in Forgotten Land too. Some of the mouthful modes are more like specific, you know, gameplay sections that you'd play like near on the end of the level or such. But yeah, we're interrupting a nice, lovely song here.
Oh yeah, this is beautiful. And if you 100% the game, you get like a translated version of the song, I think. I think that's how it works. But yeah, in case you were wondering, I am in fact going to be 100% in this game again.
Hey.
So
it's some good stuff, man.
Yeah. It was fun 100% in this game. Unfortunately, we won't be seeing any of the challenges yet. That's more towards the end, this has like been a Kirby thing since Kirby got into its modern era, where the challenge of a Kirby game is mostly towards the end of the game, whereas the main quest story is pretty laid back and easy. Which,
pretty breezy.
It's Kirby's MO at this point.
It's a pretty breezy time, especially if you don't go for any of the completionist stuff, you know. If you've ever like just tried to speed through a level, say like because you've forgotten a collectible or maybe something at the very end you missed, it's usually quite a fast, breezy experience. But anyway, right here we're seeing, who's this little blue guy?
New character.
Oh no, he's been captured in some golden cage.
Is he evil?
He looks friendly. We've got to help him out.
Will he destroy the world?
Will he follow the?
Can we trust him?
Yeah, the cliches of Kirby.
Will he give us cake?
Some nice guy. It turns out to be an eldritch abomination. Yeah. No. Well, first we have these new little I think these new little segments.
That was like the first thing people were questioning with Elflin was, is this character going to betray us at the end?
Yeah, the scars the Kirby fandom have from those such encounters. But no, this Elflin here is a nice little chap, it seems. I mean, once he introduces his name to us proper. But yeah, he thanks us for saving him, and he'll explain how all those Waddle Dees from our world, or from Kirby's world, sorry, Dreamland, has all been captured up for some reason. Don't know why. And despite our, Kirby's differences in the past, Waddle Dees in cages will be our main sort of main collectible throughout the levels, sort of similar to like the sun gems, the cogs, or the program cubes. I don't remember their proper names quite off the top of my head, but yeah, those sort of collectibles throughout the levels that work towards unlocking. Usually, they will walk towards unlocking the boss of the world and other cool stuff. And this game has some cool stuff, all right.
One thing I know is different in Forgotten Land is that, including, like, each level has 3 Waddle Dees you can save at the very end for just finishing it, whereas there are 3 other objectives that you can fulfill to get an extra Waddle Dee. And this is
I think they I think there's a different. There can be varying amount throughout the different levels. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, 3 to 5. It depends on the level and how long it is. And sometimes it can be pretty easy to get. Like, you may even do something in the level without even thinking it. Oh, you got a Waddle Dee. For what? For sniffing flowers. You know? So, but then there's also, like, interact or collect this many objects in the level. And, you know, we're going to see that in this first one. But as you can
That's
see...
one thing, yeah.
As you can see...
That this game, Oh, sorry.
As you can see, or as you saw, the extra missions are hidden, like, under question marks, and you get if you haven't finished any one of them, you get one of those extra missions revealed when you finish the level. Which means if you're not you know, paying attention as to what those missions are, or if you don't know, then you're going to be replaying levels over and over again.
Yeah, that's one of the few criticisms this game does have is, you know, why hide, you know, the sort of missions until after you've beaten the level? It can make it sort of problem. I think a bit annoying for first-time players. I think in some sense, maybe some of the mission titles, maybe they thought, oh, it would spoil perhaps the locations or whatever you'd have to do in order to find this Waddle Dee. But yeah, it is. Although I mentioned how the Waddle Dees are sort of like those, you know, main collectibles, there's also, besides finding them throughout the level, you've got all these missions as well. Something we've not really seen since Kirby's Dream Land 3 missions of this kind of type. Yeah, by completing level-specific missions, you also find Waddle Dees.
Yeah, and in my case, I never experienced this at all. So, unlike a lot of other players, I was pretty okay with like replaying levels because these are pretty easy levels. You know, it's not like other platformers where there's like a really hard section for all of a sudden. Kirby levels tend to be pretty easygoing, so I was like, this is fine. I'll replay the level, you know, and you know maybe I'll do it again, do this one thing again because I really like that part. The only time that I kind of had a issue with replaying the levels was actually towards the 3rd level.
Third level in general, or the 3rd world?
The level 3, the amusement park area.
Ah, World 3, gotcha.
Yeah.
I think they do call them levels in this game, don't they?
Well, each of the levels have names. Like, this one's the Natural Plains. And all that.
This is World 1-1 in a sense, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot.
But yeah, I think it will depend on the player that, sorry, but I think it will depend on the player whether you find that irritating or not. But at the very least, if you can find them all on your first go through, if you're, you know, if you know where they are, but even if you don't, you can still find them on your first go through at the very least. And
yeah, but
it's not the worst. It's not as bad as some games are. But yeah, whether that's a problem for you will depend, I think.
As long as you're paying attention, you'll fulfill those missions pretty easily, especially in Natural Plains where they're the easiest. Later on, you'll get a little
although
bit
some of them
tricky.
can get devious.
Mm-hmm. There is
even in this first level, sometimes that first one of those flowers can easily be missed by most players.
Oh yeah, especially
of players.
that first one. Especially that first one. If you don't know that there's like a little cave in that area you unlock behind the gate, you would miss a tulip just like that. I know that because it happened to me.
But yeah, this first level is one of the levels in the demo as well. This game had a demo that was really cool. If you complete the demo, you would get a code, which we'll talk about later. And if you could also 100% beat it, and you'd get another code. But let's talk about Kirby's controls for a second, how he functions in 3D. Because you were in the options earlier, you were sort of changing a few things about auto swallowing and such.
Oh yeah, like when it comes to the copy abilities, I'm not like I think the auto swallow is pretty good. Like I played the entire game with the auto swallow on, and it didn't bother me. And besides, it's nice to distinguish which ones have powers and which ones don't. A little bit more.
I personally like to choose when to swallow something, because maybe I'll want to use it as a projectile. Does it not auto swallow regular enemies then?
It does not.
Interesting.
You hold that enemy and whatever object is swallowable can be inhaled, and you keep it as like a little projectile.
Yeah, but I like the manual control. But Kirby can he can jump, he can float for a limited time and only to a certain altitude. So somewhat similar to Kirby 64 with the float limit. He can obviously run around as you see here, and he can swallow. He can crouch. If you crouch and jump, you do the slide. And he can't do anything like dodge or defend in the air, but on the ground you can block and walk, and you can even dodge roll.
Oh yeah,
which is fun.
That dodge roll is pretty broken, I think.
Well, actually, no, you can't just block and walk. I think that's something specific, which might be related to this fellow here. But yeah, once you get hold of a copy ability, then you can use your swallow button to attack and such.
Yep.
And a bunch of other controls that depends on the copy ability. There are some very interesting ways that they get a bunch of different moves and movesets for copy abilities in this game.
Oh yeah, like none of the...
Right now you've got Cutter, for instance.
Oh yeah. Cutter's one of my favorite abilities to have. Especially when it has like a charge to it now. When you can like give off like heavy damage when charged fully. So it also makes
you can throw.
Oh, excuse me. It also makes certain puzzles fun.
Used for certain puzzles to cut ropes and such.
Oh yeah.
And to hold the button down too, because you can throw. So for Cutter, if you don't mind, something I love most about Kirby is the copy abilities. If I explain the how these abilities work for a second, or at least this current one. With Cutter, you throw boomerangs as projectiles. One of your, well, not exactly one of your main projectile abilities in this game specifically, but it is one. It's one of the projectile abilities. You throw a boomerang that will go and hit enemies. They can come back once they hit something. They can bring items to you. They can cut ropes or vines, as seen here. And in this game, you can even hold the boomerang out in place, which then charges it up and makes it sort of like a stationary buzzsaw for a time before it comes back and does immense damage to enemies in the pathway. You can also, if you're close enough to an enemy, do an additional move with the final Cutter. Sort of the melee sort of slicing abilities, and then the up and down slash, which creates a shockwave.
Right.
I think it also shoots out its own projectile. Yeah, that's Cutter.
I think that's like a Smash Brothers only thing. I don't remember projectile being in the final time.
Yeah, in Smash, it's up B. It's based off of one of Cutter's moves from Superstar, the 2D games. If you pressed B in close proximity to an enemy instead of throwing out a boomerang, essentially, you would do a slashing combo, which would then end with the up slash to down slash to which would then, in the 2D games, it would fire a sort of a wind projectile afterwards as well, as a sort of a visual thing, and it would hurt other enemies that weren't close to you as well if they were in the way. In this game, I think you can actually shoot out another cutter, like another cutter boomerang at the end of the melee slashes. Or that might be specific to something else we'll touch on. We have this final section here with cone heads. One of the
I love that movie.
Modes in this game.
I love that movie. I haven't seen it in years.
Many mouthful modes in this game, I think I would say perhaps function as their own sort of copy abilities as well, in a sense. Like, you could compare this conehead ability here to Stone, perhaps. That's the way I look at it. But yeah, that's our first level. Everything cleared, everything good.
I don't really see the mouthful modes as like an extra copy ability, but rather some more for Kirby to do under specific contests. Like, I mean, maybe the car is more comparable to the wheel, which is absent in this game. But things like the vending machine, the cone, I think it's more of their own little thing.
Okie dokie. I have a bunch of things to say about abilities and mouthful mode as we go on, but with this first level, hey ho, we did it. Downtown Grassland. Even each little individual level also has their own names, so that's nice.
Oh yeah. And
that's the end of the part.
Yeah, I don't know what
See you
else
next
to add.
time.
Don't know what else to add. Okay, ending video in 3, 2, 1. There.